Breaking Dawn by Stephanie Meyer. Chapter 4. My relationship with Jacob used to be so easy, natural as breathing, but since Edward had come back into my life, it was a constant strain. I was choosing fate that was worse than death, or at least equivalent to it. What is it, Jake? Just tell me. You can tell me anything. I don't have anything to tell you. Oh, please, spit it out. It's true. It's not. It's a question. It's something I want you to tell me. Ask me. He struggled for another minute and then exhaled. I shouldn't. It doesn't matter. I'm just morbidly curious. Because I knew him so well, I understood. It's not tonight, Jacob, I whispered. Jacob was more obsessed with my humanity than Edward. He treasured every one of my heartbeats, knowing that they were numbered. Okay. Oh, he said, trying to smother his relief. Oh. A new song started playing, but he didn't notice the change this time. When, he whispered. I don't know for sure. A week or two, maybe. His voice changed, took on a defensive, mocking edge. What's the hold-up? I just didn't want to spend my honeymoon writhing in pain. You'd rather spend it how? Playing checkers? Ha ha. Very funny. Kidding, Bills. But honestly, I don't see the point. You can't have a really honeymoon with your vampire, so why go through the motions? Call a spade a spade. This isn't the first time you put this off. That's a good thing, though, he said, suddenly earnest. Don't be embarrassed about it. I'm not putting anything off, I snapped. And yes, I can have a real honeymoon. I can do anything I want. Butt out. He stopped our slow circling abruptly. For a moment I wondered if he'd finally noticed the music change, and I scrambled in my head for a way to patch up our little tiff before he said goodbye to me. We shouldn't pass on this note. And then his eyes bulged wide with a strange kind of confused horror. What? He gasped. What did you say? About what, Jake? What's wrong? What do you mean have a real honeymoon while you're still human? Are you kidding, Bella? Are you kidding? That's a sick joke, Bella. I glared at him. I said, butt out, Jake. This is so not your business. We shouldn't even be talking about this. It's private. His enormous hands gripped the top of my arms, wrapping all the way round, fingers overlapping. Ow, Jake, let go. He shook me. Bella, have you lost your mind? You can't be that stupid. Tell me you're joking. He shook me again, his hands tight as tourniquets were shivering, sending vibrations deep into my bones. Jake, stop. The darkness was suddenly very crowded. Take your hands off her. Edward's voice as cold as ice, sharp as razors. Behind Jacob there was a low snarl from the black night, then another overlapping the first. Jake, bro, back away, I heard Seth Clearwater urge. You're losing it. Jake seemed frozen as he was, his horrified eyes wide and staring. You'll hurt her, Seth whispered. Let her go. Now, Edward snarled. Jacob's hand dropped to his side, and the sudden gush of blood from my waiting veins was almost painful. Before I could register more than that, cold hands replaced the hot ones, and the air was suddenly whooshing past me. I blinked. I was on my feet, half a dozen feet away from where I'd been standing. Edward was tensed in front of me. There were two enormous walls braced between him and Jacob, but they did not seem aggressive to me. More like they were trying to prevent the fight. And Seth, gangly 15-year-old Seth, had his long arms around Jacob's shaking body, and he was tugging him away. If Jacob faces Seth so close. Come on, Jake, let's go. I'll kill you, Jacob said, his voice so choked with rage that it was low as a whisper. His eyes focused on Edward, glowed with fury. I'll kill you myself. I'll do it now. He shuddered convulsively. The biggest wolf, the black one, growled sharply. Seth, get out of the way, Edward hissed. Seth tugged on Jacob again. Jacob was so bewildered with the rage that Seth was able to yank him a few further feet back. Don't do it, Jake. Walk away. Come on. Sam, the bigger wolf, the black one, joined Seth then. He put a massive head against Jacob's chest and shoved. The three of them, Seth towing, Jake trembling, Sam pushing, disappeared swiftly into the darkness. The other wolf stared after them. I wasn't sure in the weak light about the colour of his fur. Chocolate brown, maybe? Was it cruel, then? I'm sorry, I whispered to the wolf. It's all right now, Bella, Edward murmured. The wolf looked at Edward. His gaze was not friendly. Edward gave him one cold nod. The wolf huffed and then turned to follow the others, vanishing as they had. All right, Edward said to himself, and then he looked back at me. Let's get back. But Jake. Sam has him in hand. He's gone. Edward, I'm so sorry. I was stupid. You did nothing wrong. I've such a big mouth. Why would I shouldn't have let him get to me like that. What was I thinking? Don't worry, he touched my face. We need to get back to the section before someone notices our absence. I shook my head, trying to reorientate myself, before someone noticed. Had anyone missed that? Then, as I thought about it, I realised the confrontation that had seemed so catastrophic to me had in reality been very quiet and short here in the shadows. Give me 2 seconds, I pleaded. My insides were chaotic with panic and grief, but that didn't matter now. Only the outside mattered right now. Putting on a good show was something I knew I had to master. My dress? You look fine. Not a hair out of place. I took 2 deep breaths. Okay, let's go. He put his arms around me and led back to the light. When we passed under the twinkle lights, he spun me gently onto the dance floor. We melted in with the other dancers as if our first dance had never been interrupted. I glanced around at the guests, but no one seemed shocked or frightened. Only the very palest faces there showed any signs of stress, and they hid it well. Jasper and Emmett were on the edge of the floor, close together, and I guessed they'd been nearby during the confrontation. Are you? I'm fine, I promised. I can't believe I did that. What was wrong with me? Nothing was wrong with you. I've been so glad to see Jacob here. I knew the sacrifice it had taken him, and then I ruined it, turned his gift into a disaster. I should be quarantined. But it was my idiocy that would not ruin anything else tonight. I'll put this away, shove it in the drawer, and lock it up to deal with later. There'll be plenty of times to flagellate myself for this, and nothing I could do would help now. It's over, I said. Let's not think of it again tonight. I expected a quick agreement from Edward, but he was silent. Edward? He closed his eyes and touched his forehead to mine. Jacob is right, he whispered. What am I thinking? He is not. I tried to keep my face smooth for the watching of the crowd of friends. Jacob was way too prejudiced to see anything clearly. He mumbled something low that sounded almost like should let him kill me for even thinking. Stop it, I said fiercely. I grabbed his face in my hands and waited until he opened his eyes. You and me. That's the only thing that matters. The only thing you're allowed to think about now. Do you hear me? Yes, he sighed. Forget Jacob Kane. I could do that. I would do that. For me. Promise that you'll let this go. He stared into my eyes for a moment before answering. I promise. Thank you, Edward. I'm not afraid. I am, he whispered. Don't be. I took a deep breath and smiled. By the way, I love you. He smiled just a little in return. That's why we're here. You're monopolising the bride, Emmett said, coming up behind Edward's shoulder. Let me dance with my little sister. This should be the last chance to make her blush. He laughed loudly, as unaffected as he usually was by any serious atmosphere. It turned out there was actually lots of people I hadn't danced with yet. That gave me a chance to truly compose and resolve myself. When Edward claimed to me again, I found that Jacob's jaw was shut nice and tight. As he wrapped his arms around me, I was unable to unearth my earlier sense of my joy, my certainty that everything in life was right place tonight. I smiled and laid my head against his chest. His arms tightened. I could get used to this, I said. Don't tell me you got over your dancing issues. Dancing isn't so bad, with you. But I was thinking more of this, and I pressed myself to himself even tighter. Of never having to let you go. Never, he promised, and he leaned down to kiss me. It was a serious kind of kiss, intense, slow but building. I'd pretty much forgotten where I was when I heard Alice call. Paul. Bella, it's time. I felt a brief flicker of irritation with my new sister for the interruption. Edward ignored her. His lips were hard against mine, more urgent than before. My heart broke into a sprint, and my palms were slick against his marble neck.